the web browser arena, which basically will begin with understanding what are web browsers, different kinds of web browsers, what are the threats on internet, what are the eye openers for identifying if one is a victim of web-based attack. Then we'll come to the most important part of this webinar, which is what is browser sandbox. So quickly, let's try and understand as to what are the different browsers that are used today. Very commonly, when we talk about internet browsers, we have Internet Explorer, the most commonly used browser, which comes with Windows. Then we have Mozilla Firefox, which is again one of the most recognized browsers. For all the Apple users, we have Safari, which comes as a default browser, and Google has its own browser, which is Google Chrome. Every of these browsers have a search box in which you have the name of the website written. Now, the name of the website in technical terms is called as the URI or URL, which is Uniform Resource Identifier or Uniform Resource Locator. This is an address to a web page, an image, a video, or any other piece of content. Moving forward, let's begin with a very interesting poll, a very important one. Let me just bring up the poll for you. Okay, so the question is, even though you are on a trusted site, now let's define what a trusted site is. Trusted sites basically are sites which you know are good for sure. Trusted sites are sites which are recommended by your peers, your friends, your family, your colleagues for important information. Trusted sites are the most regularly visited sites. Now say for example you are on a trusted site and there's a pop-up which says you've won an iPhone. Wow. Do you think it's safe to click on that pop-up? No, mind you, these pop-ups is not by an accident. It's come on a trusted site. What do you think? Wow, we have a lot of answers coming in today. So let's give some 10 or 15 more seconds for people to vote. We have approximately 50% people vote in today's webinar. Okay. Let's see. I'll just see as to what are the results of the poll. Brilliant. Now, this is exactly what should be done by everyone who is who's going on a trusted site. Never click on a pop-up which gives you information which is not to be easily easily being preyed follow prey to. Okay, let's continue the webinar and we'll talk about this in detail. Now, what are the threats that lurk on the internet? Web threat is any threat that uses a worldwide web to facilitate a cyber crime. Web threats are they use multiple types of malware or fraudulent means using communication components such as links into emails, into internet messengers, into malware attachments or servers that access the web. These threats benefit cyber criminals by stealing information for subsequent sale or help absorb infected PCs into botnets. Botnets are computers controlled by remote locations for malicious purposes. Web threats pose a broad range of risks including financial damage, identity theft, loss of confidential information or data, theft of network resources, damaged personal or company brand reputation, and erosion of consumer confidence into e-commerce or online banking. Web threats can be divided into two primary categories. Now these categories are based on the way the web threats get executed. One is the push and the second is a pull. Now push-based threats are basically spam emails, phishing, so other fraudulent means to lure a user to a malicious site, which then collects the information from the user, or it injects a malicious code in the computer. The other push attack is basically phishing or DNS poisoning. These kind of attacks are shown to be originated from a trusted source. As mentioned in Wikipedia, in the year September 2008, malicious hackers broke into several sections of businessweek.com to redirect visitors to malware hosting sites. Hundreds of pages were compromised with malicious JavaScript pointing to third-party servers. Now, a lot of people have this question, and they ask as to how do you exactly understand if a person is a victim or of a web attack. Now, very basic checkpoints that you have to do. You have to observe for your PC, is it behaving normally or is it behaving abnormally? When I say abnormally, does it slow down? Does the performance of your computer is compromised to a level which is not acceptable? Do you have blinkings pop up? They start appearing on your screen. Default search engine, like search engines are an inbuilt facility in all of the major web browsers. We know search engines as Google, Bing, Yahoo, which is widely used. Do you think these search engines are changed to something that you and I would not really quickly recognize? Your social media accounts start showing unauthorized activities, which means postings on your Facebook or Twitter page without your consent, and content that you wouldn't post on these social networking sites. If these are the symptoms, then the odds are that you've been a victim of web-based attack. Let's go for another poll here. I'll bring up the poll for you. It's interesting because a lot of people do think that downloading software from your computer, getting freewares on your computer is nice. But do you think checking for the publisher of the software, is it important? Now, let me tell you how our publisher is seen. Whenever you try to install a software, right in the initial first screens, you see that the publisher of the software is displayed. And if you recognize the publisher of the software, then and then only, if you think he is trustworthy, you should install the software. Let me give you an example. If you're downloading a Microsoft software, you would get the publisher of the software as Microsoft. If you're using an Adobe software like the Adobe PDF Reader or any other Adobe software, you would see the publisher of the software is Adobe itself. This gives you a trust, saying that this is a verified publisher. We have about 60% of the audience voted in today's poll, and yeah, let's see what the poll results have to say. I'll just share that screen with you. Wonderful. 95% in today's audience, they believe that before you download or install any software on your computer, it is very important to check the publisher. So audience, that's good going. Let's move forward. What are web-based attacks? Now, these web-based attacks are you find a numerous amount of web-based attacks, but the most important ones which you need to be informed about are the three: drive-by download, clickjacking, and malicious freeware. Now let's understand one after the other. Drive-by downloads. Now these drive-by downloads are the most sophisticated web attacks that criminals use against online users. These are very dangerous because they require no action from the user to download the malicious content on the personal computer. what's more scary is that these often attacks are often unleashed from legitimate looking sites. Once implanted on a site, drive-by download typically takes advantage of the browser weakness to automatically download anything, which may start from a full-fledged virus to a less detected downloader app, which will trick the user into eventually loading malware onto a machine. Drive-by download attacks are commonly part of commercial exploit kits that make it easy for non-technical criminals to deliver an attack. Second is clickjacking. Now, this looks a little technical, but let me simplify this for you. Clickjacking is if an attacker requires an extra interaction from the user to load a malware. This is accomplished via this technique called as clickjacking. The purpose of the attack is to open a target website in an invisible frame and to get the user to click somewhere in the frame. Now, if the user does that, there comes up different pop-ups, or there comes up malicious codes which will ask the user to get engaged. Now, what this does is basically the pop-up is not dangerous by itself, but this opens a gate to all the malicious codes to be downloaded to your site. That is bad. Now, coming to the third and the most important part of the malicious freeware, which is a very commonly used web-based attack technique. You know, malicious freewares which are most commonly spread by peer-to-peer network sites. Now, this is the most liked way of communication by cyber criminals. There are legitimate communication methods like different instant messages or different services which people trust to get genuine information from their peers. But cyber criminals use the same platforms to push malicious codes through these trusted sources, and the machines get infected. Now, even though organizers who have made policies to stop P2P activities in the corporate network, the threat is still there because the threat may be introduced via mobile workers who are outside the corporate network. Let's go ahead. Let's go for another poll, which is a very interesting one. A lot of people do ask about this poll. Which of the browsers do you think are the safest? Do you think the Firefox by Mozilla is the safest? Do you think Chrome by Google is the safest? Internet Explorer, the basic browser that comes with Windows, is it the most safe, or Opera browser? And all these browsers are the most widely known browsers throughout the world. People have different opinions about which browser to browse. It depends on a lot of things. Some of them use it for convenience. Some of them use it for security. Some of them have a standpoint because we have a lot of software developers who use different browsers because they give them features which will help them in their daily routine work. Now, if you ask, all of these browsers are well known in the market, in the software world, and people use it widely. Now, coming back to the polls, we have had an excellent poll here. Let me show you what the results of the polls are. 22% of today's audience feels Mozilla Firefox is the safest browser. 48% people say Google Chrome is the safest browser. 30% people say Internet Explorer. Unfortunately, nobody has voted for Opera. Feel sorry for you, Opera. All right, Google Chrome, exactly, people. This is the most widely known browser that is used by internet, and people, you have correctly chosen Google Chrome. Yes, Google Chrome was the first browser to introduce Browser Sandbox as a technology in itself, and which made Google Chrome the most widely accepted browser, and also deemed that this browser is the safest of all. Let's proceed. So we have learned about the threats on the internet. What could be the solution to these threats? Of course, Browser Sandbox. And what is Browser Sandbox? So a sandbox basically is it's a playful box that is used in the Western world, which has sand in it, in which a kid sits to play, and he plays with the sand, but the sand doesn't get spilled across the box because there is a box to protect it. Taking the same concept, Sandbox in the information technology world is a security mechanism for running specific programs separately away from your regular computer in a secure environment. A sandbox typically provides a tightly controlled set of resources for such guest programs to run. Sandboxing technology is frequently used to test unverified programs which may contain a virus or other malign codes without allowing the software to harm the host device. So if you have to make it simple, it's basically a security technique that creates a virtual environment for your programs to run, and then it executes your internet browsers within this environment in your PC. So coming to a very interesting question that was asked to a lot of our technical teams is, there is a lot of instances where files are getting downloaded on your PC when you are browsing certain sites, and they have a question in mind as to what should be the immediate next action in this scenario. Should they close the browser immediately? Should they let the download complete and check it on later? Should they cancel the download, or should they ignore this download completely and resume the work? Let's see what the audience has to say about this. There are various programs which get downloaded. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us have come across this scenario where you've been reading an article, or you've been browsing the internet, surfing the internet, and you've come across sites where these downloads start dropping into your computer without your knowledge or without your any action to be required on your part. We have about 70% audience completed their vote. Let's give them another 15 odd seconds to complete the poll, because it's very important. This is a very important question that a lot of people do ask these days. I would like to tell today's audience that we would like to hear from you about your questions or queries that you have on today's webinar, and we would definitely come back to you with the answers for them. Now let's see what the poll has to say. We have about 80% of audience vote for today's fourth poll. Let me share the results with you. Now 15% people say you should immediately close the browser. 11% of today's audience feels that they should let the download complete and should check on later. 72% of the audience feels that they should cancel the download, and only 2% think that you should ignore it completely and resume your work. Well, please note, users who have chosen answers B, that's to let the download complete and check it later, or D, which is ignore it completely and resume your work, that's a complete no-no. See, these steps are not advisable because you may never know if the download is malicious or not. So the most correct option is, one, either you cancel the download right away. If not, immediately close the browser. Okay, but please people, let me reiterate this important step. After you have done this, please run your antivirus scan on your computer. As you know, if there is a download that has happened, is completed, then it might be a danger where it might infect your computer. So it's better to have a precaution than to find a cure. Let's move ahead. So what does this mean? Once the sandbox gets activated, it takes your internet browser to a virtual environment. So any file that gets downloaded from the browser remains isolated in the sandbox environment. So even if there is infection does take place from that download, it will remain confined inside that virtual environment without affecting the real PC. So it's people. This is the very reason why you should have a browser sandbox installed in your browser before you surf the internet. So once you close your browser, what happens? Well, nothing to worry about. Once you close the browser, any changes that might have occurred in the environment will be deleted. This means your PC remains unaffected by any of such malware attacks. Now, coming to QuickHeal's initiative, QuickHeal has offered browser sandbox protection as its inbuilt features in the desktop level products, which are QuickHeal Total Security, QuickHeal Internet Security Premium, and QuickHeal Antivirus Pro. Now let's see how does the QuickHeal sandbox protection, how does the sandbox protection look into QuickHeal's dashboard. When you go into QuickHeal's dashboard, there is an subsection which is Internet and Network, in which you will find an option which will give you an opportunity of switching on the browser sandbox option. Once this option is switched on, the browser sandbox gets activated on your browsers. This is as simple as that. You just one click of a button and your browser is protected when it creates a virtual environment, and you need not worry as you are protected from most or almost the malwares that may affect your computer without your knowledge. So with the QuickHeal's browser sandbox, you can control your browser access to your personal data on your computer. For this, you have options. The options are it prevents internet browser from accessing confidential folders, prevents internet browsers from modifying protected data. It allows browsers to store all downloads in a specified folder. At the present time, the most threatening aspect of malware, it's evolving, and dealing with such threats should not involve the best damage control approach. After all, as they say, keeping the milk from spilling over is always better than mopping it. Well, this brings us to the end. Thank you very much for attending to today's webinar. If you have any questions, as I have advised earlier, you can reach us at corporatecommunications@quickheal.co.in, and our QuickHeal team will be more than happy to answer questions for you. If you have questions or you want to learn more about Browser Sandbox, you can visit our website, which is www.quickheal.com. And as mentioned, any of the three products of QuickHeal, you will have more information about Browser Sandbox on the three product pages. You can also visit us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/QuickHealAV. We post a lot of information about the upcoming security threats, news about the IT world, news about the security, news from the security world, daily updates on our Facebook page. You can also follow us on our Twitter handle, which is twitter.com/QuickHeal. Please visit us our blog sites, where our technical experts write about upcoming threats into the IT security world. The blog address to QuickHeal's blog is www.blogs.quickheal.com. Well, thank you very much. This is from my end. I am now going to give the mic back to Rajiv.
Thank you everyone for being with us on this webinar. I hope you had a very interactive session with Nikhil, and as Nikhil has pointed out, if you have any feedback or queries, please mail us at corporatecommunications@quickheal.gov.in. Thank you all. And have a nice day.